Alrighty guys, we're back again with another video. This time I'm going to be discussing one-shots in Mythic Plus and the joke that is current Mythic Plus scaling on some boss encounters inside of Battle for Azeroth. So, I think it's safe to say that coming into BFA, they decided pretty early on that they didn't want boss encounters to turn into what they were in Legion, which were basically just like survival fiestas where you had Persias and Dracerons and Shadow of Xavius and all these bosses that would just one hit you 100 to 0 with very little counterplay. In some cases almost no counterplay, just bar using, what was it, like Titan Guard, so you had like the world's largest shield. So the end of Legion was kind of a joke because of that, just because of how insane survivability got towards the end of everything, right? In Battle for Azeroth Season 1, everything felt okay. Health pools felt fine. The damage, in general, the DPS that was required to complete a dungeon was your limiting factor. But as time has moved on, that has actually shifted pretty heavily in terms of survivability is probably going to be the limiting factor moving forward, especially coming into Season 4. And that is a huge red flag for me because of what Legion, the last season of Legion, turned into, with just like being such a survival check and just being such a joke for some of the stuff that was occurring. Basically, there's a lot of abilities that need to be tuned down in the game, honestly, there needs to be like sweeping changes across the board for dungeon trash health relative to the scaling of player damage. The boss health needs to be tuned down relative to player damage, and then the boss, like a bunch of boss abilities, need to be nerfed by a significant amount to where they're not one-shotting people 100 to 0. Is the major takeaways from this video, and I'm going to show you guys why. And again, like I said, it's due to like health pools versus damage changing across the whole entire point of the expansion. Basically, inside of the first season of BFA, people were doing approximately like, what were they doing? Like 17 to 20k DPS, while they had something in the range of like 200k HP ish. And now they're doing somewhere in the range of like almost 80k DPS, while they have the health pool of like 400 if you have like a fort scroll. So health pool's doubled, while damage is almost, I don't know, like tripled in some cases, right? Obviously, not everybody is doing like 70k DPS. I would say on single target, people were in Season 1 doing around the 15k mark, whereas now people are doing around the 45k to 50k mark now inside of BFA. So, and then like I said, the health pool stuff has obviously gotten pretty like significantly worse relative to the damage, and that creates a issue where people are just getting one hit 100 to 0. It's not only the health pool, though. It's that people are doing keys that are too high relative to the damage. Like, they have too much DPS relative to the keys that they should be doing. Because basically, if we're going off Season 1 numbers, we should only be doing keys that are probably in the... like, the utmost end should probably only be like a 23 or 24. Like a 22 should be... like a 21 and 22 should probably be like hard. 23 should probably be like world first keys relative to our health pool. But 25s are world first keys, potentially 26, and then 24s are fairly common, and like fairly common is loose here. I say fairly common in terms of like it is achievable if you put in enough time and dedication and effort, right? We see a fair amount of 24s being done is what my terminology is being. And then anything else below that is, of course, I mean, there's still stuff that is one-hitting people at fucking like 19s, and we're about to talk about this in just a second. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to be discussing today. All right, and so we can actually take a look at justhealus.com, a website that my friend Trance has made, and it gives a really good indication of whether or not you're going to be one-shot by a mechanic, which is a sad state of affairs if you actually need this, but it is a fairly useful tool. I would recommend using it if you are pushing some of these super high keys, or even in like a 19 in Freehold's case. Because let's take the worst case scenario. We have Freehold here. which if we could put it on Tyrannical, we can see some of the abilities here. Powder Shot, obviously, one of the most notorious abilities, but this scales off of physical damage. But there's also this Azurite Powder Shot, which does not scale off physical damage. This is a magic damage shot. And so we can bump this up to, where does it actually start one-shotting most people? Okay, so in 18 Tyrannical, if you don't have a Fort Scroll, it will probably one-hit you. Very cool. In 19 Tyrannical, definitely if you don't have a Fort Scroll or don't use DR, it will definitely one-hit you. So around the 18 and 19 range, which I would say is obtainable for a very large majority of the player base. There's also stuff like this powder shot on Eudora, which right before this I actually went and checked and saw how much armor that cloth wearers have, and so we can actually just take like an affliction lock. Not exactly the most reasonable class, but however, they do have about 17,000 armor, which gives them about 21% damage reduction. So then you have stuff like powder shot, which is very fucking cool, by the way, which is doing 377k. This scales off physical damage. It is one-shotting cloth wearers at a 19, which is just totally unacceptable. Not only that, but there's a bunch of other abilities that are one-hitting people too. We have the notorious Cool of the Butcher Severing Axe, which just does an unreal amount of damage. So like, let's look at this. So this is 181,000 damage every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. Cool. Like, on a 19, that is just like some obscene level of healing that would be required for you to be able to do, to be able to keep up. There's just like a bunch of these abilities too. What's another one? Toldagor, the last boss, Overseer Korgus, has these explosive burst doubles that people can get. Once you get up high enough, even one of these will be super dangerous. Like 21 is hitting for 380k. So basically, if you're not using mitigation, just even on this one, it will almost one-shot you. Same with these. Like on like an 18, it's doing 288k, which is an obscene amount. In addition to that, we have abilities like Upheaval. Like, what the hell? Okay. So the breakpoint for Upheaval one-shotting you is a 17. Like, man, a 17 is doable by such a wide majority of the player base. Like, if people dedicated their time to it, so many people could do a 17. It is insane. And the fact that this one-shots you at a 17 is wild to me. The only reason that a lot of these abilities have not been fixed is because of cheesy ways that you can actually gimmick them. Upheaval can be dodged if you have a really good movement ability, such as Wild Charge, Blink, Fell Rush. You could even immune it. You can bubble it, stuff like that. You could get life gripped on it. So this is the only reason this ability hasn't been changed. The only reason that the powder shot and the other shot on Freehold, the Azurite Powder Shot and the normal Powder Shot from Eudora and from Skycap and Crag, the only reason that these haven't been fixed is because on Crag, you can line behind a pillar. You can line behind this like pillar that is this wide. So people tank Crag next to this thing, and the melee dip out of line of sight. They don't eat the shot. You're ranged or standing max range, so they're not getting hit by it. That is the only reason this hasn't been fixed. And the reason that Eudora hasn't been fixed is because the shot scales off physical damage, and there's this post that's like so far off to the side, and you can actually line the shot to where it doesn't shoot you. Why is it not being fixed? Like, why did there have to be such gimmicky ways of fixing stuff, yet the abilities themselves just can't be fixed? Do you know something? This week on a 24 Fortified, I actually got one shot by Conduction. I had a Bark Up. I had Engineering Shield. I really have to run Guardian Affinity and Switch Hitter to be able to survive a 24 Fortified Conduction because it hit me 100 to 0. Why am I even able to zone into a key that I can get just like one shot like that? So for this ability, the level is around a 20 Tyrannical, where people are just getting one hit if they don't use damage reduction. So that's very cool. There's just like so many of these abilities in the game where people are doing keys that are like wildly out of control, to where that they are just They don't have any business being in. You want to know something else too? Lord Stormsong inside of Shrine of the Storm, that mob's mind control scales off dungeon level and tyrannical. So on higher level keys, you actually can't eat the balls. You actually have to just jump straight into the water. And the only reason that that boss's mind control hasn't been fixed, because the balls don't scale with dungeon level. The balls don't scale with dungeon level. Only the like water scales with dungeon level. Actually, the water doesn't even scale with dungeon level. The water just the mind control scales with dungeon level correctly. For some reason, I don't know why the balls don't just do like 10% or like 10% of your health per ball or something like that, where you just eat 5 and then you're done. But instead, you have people who have to jump into this like jacuzzi hot tub thing and be able to get broken out of their mind control. And it just astounds me with how bad the scaling has occurred, like been, with how good it started inside of season 1. And dude, it needs to be fixed so bad, and it hurts me. Just, I hope it gets fixed coming into season 4, because season 4 the scaling is going to be even more out of control because our damage is going up and the scaling of these dungeons is getting even higher, and our health pool is not going to scale correctly. So we're going to have so many issues with people getting just one shot even on like lower level keys, and it's going to be just back to where we were inside of Legion, where people were complaining that their class can't be brought because they're getting one shot all the time, and all these other things that are occurring. Balanced Druid's going to be good again because infinite survivability inside of bear form. I started running Renewal this week because I started running Renewal and I started playing Undulating Tides because I felt like I didn't have good enough survivability on a Balanced Druid. That is such an insane thing to have occurring, because you feel like you need more survivability as like by far one of the tankiest classes in the game. And it's just hilarious to me how that's happening now. Anyways, that's the end of my little rant of today. Basically, please God fix tyrannical scaling. Please God fix some of these bosses to where the stuff isn't occurring, and please normalize the affix week so I don't have to push 10 hours a day during 1 week because bursting volcanic is wildly easier than... Oh, what is the worst week? Hold on, I'm signed into WoW right now. Because bursting volcanic is wildly easier than... Seems like a terrible void week. Grievous bolstering fort. No, that's a fortified void. What's a bad tyrannical void week? Teeming volcanic tyrannical void. That seems pretty bad. I'm not really trying to play that one either. There's a lot of really bad weeks, and the fact that there's some weeks that are just so much easier is astounding to me, and definitely needs to be fixed. But yeah, that's my rant of the day. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys later.